Appointment places Smith Cruz, who is Black and a librarian, in charge of preserving and managing city records. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Rams made it clear they want to get an early start on preparing for their future at quarterback. With the number 13 pick in the NFL draft, the Rams selected Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, a player many draft experts did not project to go in the first round. Matthew Stafford was NFL MVP last season, but he turned 38 in February. The Rams know Stafford is nearing the end of a Hall of Fame career. In 15 starts at Alabama, Simpson threw 28 touchdown passes and completed 64% of his pass attempts. The Chargers used their first-round pick, number 22, on defensive end Akeem Mesidor of Miami. Mesidor led the Hurricanes with 12.5 sacks and 17 tackles for a loss. Apparently, the oddsmakers in Vegas have no respect for the Lakers. Despite trailing the Lakers 0-2 in the playoffs, the Houston Rockets are 8.5-point favorites to win Game 3 tonight in Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson. Forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Happy Friday, everyone. It's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and our creator, producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns, is with us. Gina, welcome forward to the show.
Hey, Jesse.
Hey, Gina, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for a great week of work.
Well, thank you for leading us in that direction.
We had a great, I thought we had an extraordinary week keeping up with the news and also trying to make some news. Yeah. Some of our extraordinary guests in this hour, Dr. Walter Fluker, the founder of the Walter Fluker and Associates, is a distinguished academic and leadership expert with notable positions across various institutions. He currently holds the title of Distinguished Professor at the Howard Thurman Center, Hartford University for Religion and Peace, and has had tenures as the Dean's Professor at Emory University's Candler School of Theology and Professor Emeritus at Boston University, where he also managed the Howard Thurman Papers. Previously, Dr. Fluker was instrumental in founding the Andrew Young Center for Global Leadership and served as the Coca-Cola Professor of Leadership Studies at Morehouse College. Renowned as a consultant, a speaker, or workshop leader, his contributions have been recognized worldwide in academic, governmental, and religious sectors. Dr. Fluker's work has earned him numerous honors, including being named the 2023 Franklin Delano Roosevelt Freedom of Worship Award laureate. Gina, bring Dr. Fluker forward on our program.
There he is. Hey, Dr. Fluker.
Hello, how are you?
We're excited, Dr. Fluker. Let me start with that. Very few people really get in my head and provide the kind of thought-provoking analysis and of critique of what's taking place in our world. And I know we have some substantive issues to cover after we come forward from our first break, and we come forward on our show. We call that the break. We have about 3 minutes. So much is happening in the world, Dr. Fluker, since we last spoke. Can you share with us some of your initial insights on what's taking place, both politically and spiritually, that we should be concerned about?
Well, there are just several words. The ground has shifted. The ways in which we've thought about democracy, the ways in which we have negotiated democratic space in this country and in other spaces has changed. Leadership has changed. And so much of what we trusted to hold, the big question that Arthur Schlesinger asked in the early 90s, he asked, will the center hold? And I think now we're seeing in a radical, sometimes scary shift. So yeah, that's my initial thought. And I think it's up to us to not only understand it, but respond to it out of our own freedom of choice, agency, and what we deem as our responsibility as citizens.
Dr. Fluker, you raised the question, will the center hold? And on the one hand, we have this resistance movement, which is largely represented by the party that is not in political power. We see the direction and the trajectory of the political party and its leader that is in power. And I'm being careful not to mention any names, not because I'm not capable of it, but I want to paint a picture for our listeners that the forces are what they are, irrespective of the personalities that are leading the forces for the purposes of part of this conversation. Those two different entities are represented by major policy proposals that will be on the ballot for every American to consider over the course of the next several months in what we call the midterms. But I'm thinking when you say, does the center hold, that at the same time, one of those parties, which the listener can identify with or choose, if they choose to identify with, seeks a return to a normalcy, a politic that may no longer exist. While on the other side, they are determined and they continue to march, if you will, to run through history towards a trajectory that has the potential to establish a new normal. And that new normal is something that is outside the scope of that which we have contemplated as scholars and thinkers. Dr. Fluker, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. Your response?
Well, very briefly. I think in the quest, in the ruthless, sometimes ridiculous quest to make America great again, the leadership in the present administration stumbles over itself like little children in quest of imaginary gold. And it has led us into some incredibly dangerous spaces, perilous spaces, which I describe in my new book. And these spaces are rife with plutocratic kind of greed and avarice. There are some people who really, Jesse, want to rule the world, and not just rule the world, but own the world. And the world is too large for any human hands to hold. Even Atlas gets tired of holding the world.
Dr. Fluker, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., Gina Towns and I on Fat Meat Fridays here on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Walter Fluker. We'll be discussing his new book when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, and we will examine the direction that Dr. Fluker has laid out for us right here on KBLA. More when we come forward on Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. Things are changing fast and no one knows what comes next. Times like these make you realize just how important it is to be prepared. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. They're America's #1 most trusted resource for survival food, solar power, water filtration systems, and more. Go to preparewithamerica.com to unlock a special offer that will help you get ready for whatever comes our way. Go to preparewithamerica.com to see the special offer right now. That's preparewithamerica.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our esteemed guest right here on Fat Meat Fridays with our executive producer and creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns, is Dr. Walter Fluker. Previously, Dr. Fluker was instrumental again in founding the Andrew Young Center for Global Leadership and served as Coca-Cola's professor of leadership studies at Morehouse College. He is the author of a brand new book, Wake Up Running, Building Democratic Space at the Crossings. Gina?
Dr. Fluker, before we went to break, you mentioned you didn't know if it was going to hold in the middle. And I immediately thought about Elmer's glue. I immediately thought about all of the pieces falling apart from the center. And then I thought, do we even know what our center is anymore? And if you don't know what the center is, you cannot hold it together. And I think that's one of the things we're grappling with as a society and as a country. What is our center? What would you say that we can do to center ourselves again? And what is going to be that glue from your perspective when you talk about in Wake Up Running that you metaphorically and physically have been running for all of your life?
First, thank you. That is an excellent question. I think that for those who run this society right now, I mentioned plutocrats. Augustine called them robber barons, pirates who have confiscated the center. But the center for them has never been the center for most people in this country, and certainly not people around the world as it pertains to democracy. The center for those who rule this society now has always been, the glue has been whiteness, a kind of European aesthetic that tells us who we are and who we are not, when we're in and when we're not. And part of their work now is simultaneously to maintain that center while they also exploit the rest of the globe, not just us. So that's important. But for those who have been, as one generation called it, true believers in democracy, I like to think of the belief has been in democratic space. That is, before government as a formal and legal entity with voting and procedures and rights and responsibilities that are formal, democracy asks us to hold a space where everyone is equal. And I know equal is compounded with equity, but equal and free. And whenever one is not recognized as inhering those rights to freedom and dignity and respect, they become a part of those who have no part. That's part of what I argue in the book. And what that literally means is these are people without voice, without dignity, and where they've been historically excluded and marginalized and treated as unwelcome. What must we do then in this moment of great trial? Because trust has been broken. I suggest, and I use very intentional language, that we must congregate, conjure, conspire in commons at crossings. What does it mean to congregate, to come together? And of course, that has some religious suggestions to it, but congregate literally means to come together, to bind together, make a covenant together, and do a little conjuring. I still don't understand why African Americans lost this part of our history and our traditions, because we're incredible conjurers. We do it with music, we do it with athletics, and when we can, we do it in the larger society with democracy. How do we rearrange the room in order to make space for those who have no part,
Mm.
for those who are quickly being left out, left behind, and disappeared. So, how do we do that? How do we come together? And those are the questions I'm raising in the book. But in order to do that, we must take this moment seriously, urgently. We must wake up running.
Mm.
Is that to suggest ownership? And what I mean by that is when you bring up our history of conjuring, our expressive nature, and from that, our struggles were dealt with by the conjuring and the imagination that we had and the will that we had and the lack of comfort that we may have had over the past few decades that stopped us from being a conjuring people. But if there's no ownership, the only thing you can then own is your mind. And that takes you back to an ancestral root that says that the glue that must hold us together is our common struggle. And I love the way in the book you talk about your instances in life, for example, being chased by a group of white boys, you and two of your friends, and they had knives. And so there is the fear that comes in the moment. But then there's something that happens after that, I would have to imagine, that causes you to prepare for the next time you would have to run.
I suggest that, running often is in fear. Flight is prompted by fear, but running can also be running toward new horizons, running toward new democratic futures. So the running for me is to be aware of what's going on around us and to be alert, but it also means we must run to new futures. And one of the ways I promote this idea of running to new futures is to think about democratic space not simply as isolated here in the United States of America, but we have a diasporic mission. I think we always have had that. Our forebears understood it far better than we. When they left enslavement after the Emancipation Proclamation, and quite frankly, before, they were on the run to new futures, to new horizons. They built their own schools, churches, businesses, and of course, with each push, as I speak about the redemption movement early in the book and later some of the challenges that come for Black enterprise and political participation, still we get up and we keep on running toward those futures. And my suggestion is that at this point, that future points toward something that is global. In fact, I closed the book with a long chapter on creating global leaders, which I call errant leaders. These are leaders who don't necessarily abide by the new normal, the new rules, and who dare to seek new pastures, new understandings of what it means to be not just an American, but to be a person in the world, to become a global citizen.
I'm not so sure if the political center will hold, Dr. Fluker. I believe that the moral center could possibly hold if we define it, and the definition is broadly accepted by more and more people. Dr. Fluker, I found my initial read on that, which was provided to me from the book. Dr. Fluker's book, Wake Up Running, Building Democratic Space at the Crossings, is the title of his new book, Manifesto, by Dr. Walter Earl Fluker. Dr. Fluker, as everyone knows, is a renowned scholar and ethical leadership consultant. In this work, he uses metaphor of running, both as physical act and as spiritual practice, to explore how individuals and communities can navigate a divided America. Dr. Fluker's key themes include running as resistance. He frames running as more than just motion. It is an act of resistance and a spiritual practice that helps imagine freedom. The crossings, the title refers to the literal and metaphorical intersections where different entities, identities, histories, and social divisions meet. He seeks to reclaim space, arguing that there's an urgent need for democratic spaces where all people feel they belong, particularly in the face of racism, violence, and exclusion. And largely, this work draws upon inspiration from figures like Howard Thurman, Martin Luther King Jr., Howard Thurman, I mentioned, Harriet Tubman, and Frederick Douglass, to show how the past keeps chasing us and how we run toward hope instead. The reason I raise this question is because there are few documents outside of the Bible itself that lay the foundation for what constitutes an understanding of what constitutes the moral center. I do not believe the political center is going to hold. It's too far right, it's too far left. The ground in the center is always shifting. But in this moral space, there is agreement, I think. Maybe there is agreement on the Declaration of Independence. Maybe there's agreement on the evolving Constitution that does include the amendment process, because certainly July 4th, 1776, and certainly September 17th, 1787, when the Constitution was written, Dr. Fluker, there was no basis for democracy in the document. It was a limited scope document. The extent to which this process is democratic is because of the Reconstruction Amendments that Black people brought to bear through their struggle and through the chattel slavery system. The extent to which it's democratic, the 19th Amendment brought women into the process. To the extent to which it's democratic, the 26th Amendment brought 18-year-olds into the process. And there's simply no talk about expanding the idea of democracy or protecting democracy. In fact, everything about the body politic right now suggests we're heading in the opposite direction of democracy. Even one of our guests this week talked about that. I'm thinking, Dr. Fluker, our best chance is in the moral center properly defined. And as Gina said, you lay out in the book some real life examples on the south side of Chicago. Man, you were running, man. You were running. But then you move, obviously, scholastically and based upon your years of scholarship, into the hope of a democratic space at these crossings. Can you share with us what you mean by these intersections and crossings?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, but I must say I could not agree with you more that the challenge before us in creating democratic space is to take seriously our moral and spiritual, however defined, dimensions. But those spiritual dimensions or even religious dimensions must have strong moral and ethical foundations. And that's another kind of conversation. I also think that crossings, as I'm thinking about it, I used to use the language of intersections, at the intersections where worlds collide. I still believe that. But drawing upon our history as African Americans, we've always been crossing over. And at crossings, we sense danger, peril, but we also sense promise and possibility and potential. So the way I'm metaphorically using crossings is within the idea of runaways or renegades who are running away from and running to. And there are many crossings. And since I still dabble in theology a little bit, crossings has a lot of meanings for certain faith communities. Crossings are very dangerous places. Hence, it calls upon the runner to have courage, great courage, and discipline, and daring to resist not just physically one's bondage, but to resist the incarceration of the mind. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's profoundly spiritual and moral. And our people and other people, but especially African Americans, we've taught the world how to do that. So I try to bring that to fore in the book, and I ask my readers to join me in creating, cultivating, protecting, and enlarging these democratic spaces.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
Moral and spiritual.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Dr. Walter Fluker and Gina Towns when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries faced some tough questions from kid reporters Thursday during Take Your Child to Work Day on Capitol Hill.
Did your dad give you that question?
Along with some lighter questions, Jeffries was asked why voters view Democrats poorly and whether he would have voted to expel now former Congresswoman Sheila Sherfless McCormick, who was Black, if she had not resigned. Barack Obama will be one of the final guests on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Colbert says the former president will appear May 6th from the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. The show ends May 21st and the center opens to the public June 19th. And the new Michael Jackson biopic is moonwalking its way to the top of the box office. Michael pulled in about $13 million in Thursday previews, the biggest preview haul ever for a musical biopic. Critics are giving the film mixed reviews, but audiences are responding much more positively. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams made it clear they want to get an early start on preparing for their future at quarterback. With the number 13 pick in the NFL draft, the Rams selected Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, a player many draft experts did not project to go in the first round. Matthew Stafford was NFL MVP last season, but he turned 38 in February. The Rams know Stafford is nearing the end of a Hall of Fame career. In 15 starts at Alabama, Simpson threw 28 touchdown passes and completed 64% of his pass attempts. The Chargers used their first-round pick, number 22, on defensive end Akeem Mesidor of Miami. Mesidor led the Hurricanes with 12.5 sacks and 17 tackles for a loss. Apparently, the oddsmakers in Vegas have no respect for the Lakers. Despite trailing the Lakers 0-2 in the playoffs, the Houston Rockets are 8.5-point favorites to win Game 3 tonight in Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic. And when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Big Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot stomping, heart stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Farley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our regular host, Gina Towns, is with us, but our special guest is Dr. Walter Earl Fluker, the founder of Walter Earl Fluker and Associates, a distinguished academic and leadership expert with notable positions across various institutions. During the break, Dr. Fluker engaged both Gina and I in a deep reflection. He writes, in its deepest sense, democratic space is not only political or institutional, it's also personal, moral, and spiritual, a field of relationships, responsibilities, and associations that sustain democracy as a way of life, not merely a system of government. It emerges wherever people gather to deliberate, dissent, imagine, organize, and act for the common good. Democratic space can be found in voting booths and courtrooms, but also in churches, classrooms, streets, kitchens, workplaces, and digital forums. Anywhere human beings struggle to create more just and humane forms of living together. Dr. Fluker, will you kindly expound upon that?
I think it's so important now that we understand that the precondition for an authentic government that is democratic begins with this notion of democratic space. And as we were suggesting earlier, it's personal, it's moral, and it's profoundly spiritual. So what does that mean when we're coming up to a midterm where there's some possibility and hope for one party and the other party still is finding ways to maneuver and gain power? It means that we must, and we is the people, demos, as in democracy, the people, the multitudes, must find different ways to come together around these values, as I suggested earlier, of equality and freedom. And wherever that is missing, we must interrogate it and we must resist and find new ways to be together in community. And I think one of the places where this can be enacted most is in some of our religious institutions that have leadership that is authentic and courageous. I think a lot of your dad, Jesse, and in the book, I have a long section on him. You may not have gotten that far. One of the things he told me in an interview in 1995, we were in London together. He was at Resurrection City trying to hold it together. And he saw the people beginning to lose hope. He stood out on that shaky platform, he said, on that April morning, and the rain was falling, the people were cold and they were hungry. And he said, whatever we do, you must remember, first of all, that you are a child of God. We're God's children. And he was echoing Thurman, he told me. You're God's children already. And then he said this was the first time he began to talk about hope. because he saw the despair, the despondency in the eyes of the people. And he said, keep hope alive, whatever you do, because as long as there is hope, there's possibility. And so we're not talking about a Pollyannish idea of optimism, some superficial feeling or emotion, but hope rests on freedom. One cannot hope unless one also can understand that he or she or they are already free. And this is what I'm suggesting, especially for those who see themselves as religious leaders, but not limited to religious leaders, moral leaders, ethical leaders. We must ask the people to hope again, but not simply ask them to hope as beggars, but ask them to come together in these commons at this crossing that we're at now and create new paths to the future. An important part of that will be our young people. Nikki Giovanni said once, there's no such thing as a 30-year-old revolutionary. God, I know that to be true. We need the energy, the wisdom, the gifts of Generation Z, not just millennials, but Generation Z and Alpha that is coming on. Part of our work, my last long oration today, part of our work is to begin seriously cultivating, creating, I like to say, and Gina likes this, and training a new generation of leaders who are spiritually disciplined, intellectually astute, and morally anchored. We can do that. And we must take leadership there and not give up on our young people.
Gina?
You talk about in the book, and I had to go look it up because you talked about the difference between policy and policing. And in that is also politics. So that the place where we are, the word polis as the root from all of those words, a city or the concept of the city. And so in the concept, we find where we must find the center, how we organize ourselves, what we're going to believe, how we govern ourselves, what's acceptable in society, and how do we achieve equity out of disparity where it exists. Can you talk a little bit about, because when people hear policing, given how our society has gone in a particular direction, people think one thing, but when you think about policing, it is the organization of how we want to live and the policies that we dictate from each other, from that core, which Jesse talked about, that moral piece, and then the policy which governs it. Can you talk about how all of those intersect and how we have to deal with them right now?
Yeah, policing, I'm using it in a very technical sense, but I think you've named it. Policing, I really borrowed this from a French philosopher, but I won't bother you with that. It's not necessarily about law enforcement in the conventional sense, but it has to do with the existing systems of roles, properties, hierarchies, and distributions of power. And folks who want to maintain their self-interest reinforce those rules for their own benefit. We see now a new movement in this country that reminds you of slave patrollers. I call them the New November men in the book. And these are those who maintain the order. When you see ICE go into communities, rampage and disappear, that's policing by the state. That's the state apparatus policing. Politics has a different meaning for me, however. Politics refers to the ways in which people come together, especially the demos, especially those who feel they have no part, who they come together and they resist and demand to be seen, heard, and understood. And I think we're at that crossing, Gina, in a very, very powerful way. And I'm like Jesse, I have little confidence in politics holding the center. That's not what politics is going to do as we understand politics in its everyday sense. What we've got to do is create again these moral and spiritual spaces where our people, beyond politics, find meaning and value, and what your daddy was able to speak to so well, hope. In the book, I call it hope-filled resilience.
I know that our moment for coming forward is now. I just want to say in 30 seconds this. I find in this space, in the post-Jesse Jackson world, the fight to define his legacy in the space that you're talking about, Dr. Fluker, and not to just define him in the political space of 84 and 88 and presidential campaigns, which are limiting to the political order, and the political order are the beneficiaries and midterms and presidential cycles of that. But this space that you're talking about is a deeply spiritual space beyond 1984 and 88 that Jesse Jackson lived, and even before it, when Dr. King talked about a beloved community and a world house. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, and our very special guest is none other than the Honorable Dr. Walter Fluker. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Disagree without disrespect.
Make your point and keep it pushing.
Let's do this. Listen and learn, or talk and teach. Talking and listening around the clock. KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelenos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community
You better work. She's rooted in culture and rising in power. Los Angeles City Council member Karen D. Price Jr. invites you to the District 9 Women's Leadership Summit, a powerful gathering celebrating the women who shape our communities. Join us Sunday, May 3rd from 1 to 6 p.m. Registration is open now, but space is limited. District 9 residents receive special priority. This event is free. Call 323-846-2651 to reserve your spot. That's 323-846-2651. Be rooted, be powerful, be there.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail, and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty, and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Fat Me Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our guest with Gina Towns has been Dr. Walter Earl Fluker. Currently holds the title of Distinguished Professor at the Howard Thurman Center, Hartford University of Religion and Peace, and has had 10 years as Dean's Professor at Emory University's Candler School of Theology and Professor Emeritus at Boston University, where he also managed the Howard Thurman's Papers Project. He writes during the break, "Politics happens when those who have been excluded from systems dissent and challenge them and demand inclusion. It involves the emergence of a new subjectivity that disrupts the dominant order. In this sense, democracy concerns the struggle for the redefinition of the distribution of certain shares or spaces among certain groups whom Rancière calls that of the part of those who have no part. Here the concern is with the demos, the people, not accounted for in the configuration of power, those relegated to animal life with noise but who cannot speak. This is because the rulers, the dominant orders of a society, determine who is recognized as political subjects who can speak and who can be heard." Dr. Fluker, please expound upon this for us.
Think about our struggle now with Iran. I'm not thinking about the rulers of Iran. I'm interested in the demos, those who are not speaking because we are not allowed to hear them. And if we were to think in parallel about where we are, we have a lot of political chatter, Jesse and Gina. All we have to do is turn on the tube. But I'm not sure we are hearing the people and who are left out and whose subjectivity, that's what I mean by that, is denied. It's erased, it's muted. And what if someday along the way, these people woke up running and disrupted the order? Real change comes in democracies and in other forms of government, especially tyrannies, when the people disrupt the order. And I'm convinced that if we are to be saved, and as you said, the jury is out, like big time is out on whether we will be saved. It will not come from the people who are doing all the talking. It's
Gina,
for those who have been muted, who've been shut out, excluded, and erased.
Gina, if I can follow up very quickly with Dr. Fluker on this. Dr. Fluker, the people of Virginia, for example, with the only tool in their arsenal available to them, voted this week to change the structure of the Congress of the United States by potentially 4 seats. 24 hours after the people, using the only tool that they had, the vote, a federal court shut down the wishes of the people. Contextualize that for us, if you might, Dr. Fluker.
Well, you see exactly what I'm saying. They were policing the vote. They immediately moved to erase the significance of the vote. I hope it doesn't stand, but yes, that's an example. And what if, again, I pray to God this does occur in my lifetime. We see the mass disruption of the rulers, this kind of tyranny that we're witnessing with God imposters. And I'm kind of like, I'm a good Christian, Jesse, but my students never believe that because I asked them hard questions. But what if we took seriously the table where Jesus stands with his disciples and says, "This is my body, which is broken for you." I tell you, the only testimony that counts in a world where democracy matters is the body. And until bodies are placed on the line, we can do all of the talking we'd like.
Gina?
Done. It's the body.
Yeah,
This is my body.
You know, I'm so glad that you're gracious enough to stay with us in the next segment when Dr. Ted Williams joins us, because you just really opened, I don't want to say a can of worms, but definitely a can. And that's a lot of meat to chew on for Fat Meat Friday. I want to pick up.
And Fat Meat Friday is also the day I visit grandbabies. So I'll be on for a while. I love you guys. But
we understand.
So I'll be here for a minute with you.
We understand.
Appreciate it. Before the break, you and Jesse were talking about Reverend Jackson. And one thing Jesse always talks about is what Jesse Sr. was not running from, but rather to. And in that, that's where he discovered the hope. That the hope was what was really driving him. The hope was in his mind. I am somebody was in his mind. And I think in this moment, how important is the seed that has fallen? How important is it for it to multiply in this generation?
What a wonderful allusion to the Gospels, Gina. Good for you. It is so important. And Jesse Sr. is a seed, not was, is a seed. He's still growing. He's still growing. And we're all, Howard Thurman used to say, seeds on the wind. And I say landing somewhere in strange territory. The question is there a map? Is there a plot? Is there something where we help the seeds to grow? We must begin seriously identifying, recruiting, educating, and training a new generation of leaders. I'm not suggesting that the old guard of leaders are no longer functional. I'm suggesting that we're moving into a new day, a new time, and a new rhythm. And we've got to have folks who can dance to the beat of this new time and this new rhythm. And it is global. It is diasporic.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll have Dr. Fluker for another segment when we come forward. Ted Williams will also be joining us. More on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries faced some tough questions from kid reporters Thursday during Take Your Child to Work Day on Capitol Hill.
Did your dad give you that question?
Along with some lighter questions, Jeffries was asked why voters view Democrats poorly and whether he would have voted to expel now former Congresswoman Sheila Sherfless McCormick, who was Black, if she had not resigned. Barack Obama will be one of the final guests on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Colbert says the former president will appear May 6th from the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. The show ends May 21st and the center opens to the public June 19th. And the new Michael Jackson biopic is moonwalking its way to the top of the box office. Michael pulled in about $13 million in Thursday previews, the biggest preview haul ever for a musical biopic. Critics are giving the film mixed reviews, but audiences are responding much more positively. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A classic move by Rams management during day one Thursday night of the NFL draft. Head coach Sean McVay called Matthew Stafford to let him know they were going to select Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson with their first-round pick. After drafting Simpson, McVay told reporters that the Rams are still Stafford's team. Simpson appears to be the Rams quarterback of the future whenever the 38-year-old Stafford decides to retire. The Lakers are in Houston tonight for Game 3. The Lakers have a 2-0 lead in the best-of-7 first-round series. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for Out of Bounds. 60 minutes of sports chatter with some black folks flavor. You can hang out with us on the KBLA YouTube channel or hit us up at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Fridays on the Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Walter Earl Fluker joins us. The founder of Walter Fluker and Associates is a distinguished academic and leadership expert with notable positions across various institutions. He's the author of a brand new book, Up Running, Building Democratic Spaces at the Crossings. Dr. Fluker, you're joining Gina Towns and Dr. Ted Williams, who I'll introduce momentarily on our show. I know that I'm losing you in this segment, so I did want to focus on an insight and see if you can process it through the prism of your work. Dr. Fluker, my mother shared with me a couple of vignettes, but before I share that, I want to share with you one of my own. When I was incarcerated, my mother would come visit me on some visitation weekends, and she would obviously understand my angst for returning home and being free, the limitations of my body through policing for the crimes in which I committed and accepted responsibility for, are what they are. With that said, my mother shared with me one day, which brought hope to me. She said, "Hey, I know a way out of here. I know a way out of prison." And of course, my mind immediately went to, what democratic processes are available to get me out of the federal joint? So I reflected upon, maybe she's going to organize the Congressional Black Caucus. Maybe she's going to reach out to some of their political contacts to get in touch with the President of the United States and the Attorney General to give me some kind of reprieve out of this situation. And so my hopes were lifted. And it wouldn't be long before my hopes were transformed. I won't say they were dashed. They were transformed. Mama said, "Do you remember when I took you to Africa and the tours that we took through a number of countries in Africa? Do you remember the time that we spent in Europe when I took you to France and to Italy and to the United Kingdom? Do you remember the times that we spent together in the Caribbean and other parts of the world?" And I said, "Yes, Mom, I sure do." She said, "Well, this is what I want you to do when you go back to your cell. I want you to look up at the starry skies, and I want you to look at the stars, and I want you to think and take a mental flight out of this place and spend time with me under the Eiffel Tower. Reflect upon at Gorée Island, the door of no return." She said, "Go to Cape Town with me in South Africa, and let's reflect upon the freedom of our people there and the wonderful times that we went fishing in the Bahamas and other parts of the world." My mother helped prepare my mind for an out-of-body experience to help me deal with a context within which my physical body had been confined by my own errors, but also by the system itself. And so when I think about this title of Wake Up Running, you're suggesting that, particularly in your summary, you suggested that while Howard Thurman took a long run through history that laid the seeds and prepared foundations for future leaders, that Dr. King's 39 years was essentially a sprint. Inherent in your title is the limitations of the human form, but that the power of the Spirit is what propels us every single day to wake up and keep running. When my father died recently, and I have these two small vignettes very quickly. My father died recently, and we were at the funeral home, and my brothers and sisters were wailing, and we were all very sad looking at our father laying there. And Mama walked in and she said, "He ain't here. Close that up and let's go on over here and do the service. He ain't here. That is not here. That ain't him. That's his form. He's not here." I asked her on another occasion, had she been back to Arlington to visit her mother, who was laid to rest next to her husband, who was a soldier, and that's a right that spouses have at Arlington. And she said, "No, I've not been back since I buried my mother in Arlington National Cemetery because she is not there." In other words, in my mother's mind and in her theology and in her thinking, Dr. Fluker, she keeps on running. Are these the parallels that I think you are getting at in some of your analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reminding of Richard Lovelace, his poem. I think it was 18th century. He writes to Althea from prison, and I quoted after a chapter on Mandela, who woke up running. He's an example. And Lovelace says, "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take, those for a hermitage. But if I have freedom in my heart and my mind is free, angels that soar in the heavens above know no such liberty." It's amazing what the human mind, elevated consciousness, is able to do and still maintain residence in a body. I don't think you have to leave the body. I think what you want to do is to be aware that you are a body, and that though this body may decease, you still are, and you always will be, and you are because we are. I think you know that South African ring in that, but that's the idea. And that was a powerful testimony from your mom. I'm going to hold that close.
Dr. Fluker, thank you, and have a wonderful time with your grandchildren.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this with y'all. Don't have to read it on the thing, but I wanted you to think about this as we go forward. My only word is, as I exit, is that, Jesse, you're doing such great work. Don't come down. You're doing great work. The people need to hear this, and they're ennobled by it. Don't come down.
Dr.
Y'all
Fluker,
have a great day.
I love you very much. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show,
Can't
Fat
leave
Me
yet.
Fridays with Gina Downs on KBLA Talk 1580. And we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. Things are changing fast and no one knows what comes next. Times like these make you realize just how important it is to be prepared. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. They're America's #1 most trusted resource for survival food, solar power, water filtration systems, and more. Go to preparewithamerica.com to unlock a special offer that'll help you get ready for whatever comes our way. Go to preparewithamerica.com to see the special offer right now. That's preparewithamerica.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our host, Gina Towns, along with our very special guest, Dr. Walter Fluker from the last hour, will be with us for this final segment. And now we are joined by Dr. Ted Williams III, an educator, actor, author who teaches political science at the City Colleges of Chicago. He's a graduate of the University of Chicago, Rutgers University, and Northern Seminary. His acting credits include NBC's Chicago PD, Showtime's The Chi, various films, plays, and commercials for companies including Empire Carpet, Cheerios, and Subway. And most recently, I saw him on social media doing the moonwalk with the fedora on.
I knew that was coming. Oh, I knew that was
coming. Celebrating the release of the biopic Michael, Dr. Williams, welcome forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. So Ted Williams says, I'm true to this. I'm true to this.
My brother Jesse, I knew when you liked that post, this was coming on this show. I said, oh shoot, I'm gonna be on the show with him today. Yeah, I am as yourself, I'm a huge fan. I grew up listening to the music of Michael and really it just fell in love with the entire family as a young person. Jermaine, Janet, and the Jacksons, and I'm just so excited. I was supposed to see the film a couple days ago, couldn't make it, so I'll be seeing it later today. And I hear great things from the people, not so great from the reviewers, but who cares what they think? This is about the people.
Michael belongs to us. You know, I want to allow this opportunity to make this introduction between the eminent, world-renowned scholar and chronicler of the life and ministry of Dr. Howard Thurman, Dr. Ted Williams, Dr. Walter Fluker, who in the previous hour, we had an amazing conversation about his new book, Wake Up Running, Building Democratic Space at the Crossroads. And during the break, he wrote that the scriptures and our traditions of lament offer extravagance of, quote, groaning and hoping. In fact, I think we have much to teach the world about the language of hope that is coiled up in the language of groaning. The apostle says we are not alone and that we have help in our groaning and hoping. There is something in creation that is groaning within us and with us. We are not alone. The Spirit, he says, intercedes, advocates, and is called alongside us to empower us to lay claim to our birthright as children of creation and of the Creator. And if so, then we have the power beyond our feeble, fragile, and fragmented words, homilies, and songs. We have the language of our bodies, redeemed and delivered, broken and resurrected. Dr. Fluker, I know this is your final segment with our series, and of course, on this show, and we will, of course, continue the conversation because we do recognize that this is a family day for you. Can you expound upon this for us and give us a kind of word of hope that we may work with in your absence? Dr. Fluker?
Thank you. And Brother Ted, I'm sorry I have to leave. I have such great respect for people who can act, preach, and dance, and sing, and be cool at the same time. You must be from Chicago. I have a chapter on groaning, and it's a chapter where I try to spend time with the language of groaning, because our people know something about. I love the Lord. He heard my cry, and pitied every groan. We are a groaning people. The people in Egypt were a groaning people, but the language of groaning has depths beyond the groan. Under the groaning, with the groaning, in between the groaning, at the crossings, Jesse, there is hope. Howard Thurman called it the growing edge. You don't get into this world just with hope. Hope is earned, is garnered, and is made manifest by those who dare to groan and weep. And I happen to know, and I don't advocate being sad and depressed, but I happen to know that our people have come from a long history of groaning, and we're still groaning. And in that groaning, I think there is manifest a strong core of resilience, which is hope. And again, Thurman called it the growing edge. And he tells us to look well to the growing edge. After the seed goes into the ground, Gina, after it dies, it yearns for sunlight, and it brings forth something new. And nothing in this life comes to be without some sense of groaning. In chaos, in turbulence, I'm suggesting, by the way, there's always a potential for more. And we can't give up on that. This is what we must put before the people, before ourselves first, but before the people over and over again. You cannot afford to give up. Not now. Not now. Especially not now. We need you. And to the younger generations that I mentioned earlier, God, we must find a way, whatever it takes. We must find a way to be there with them in their groanings for that reason.
Gina,
that's what I was after.
It's this idea of groaning, though. I mean, I'm torn between, because I think my grandmother, my great grandmother Matilda, I think they groaned, right? But they also moaned. They also wailed.
Oh Lord!
And that's right. That's right. There's a lot to be said about that, Gina.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny because I say to my friends, I've said to my children, I can feel the earth groaning. And that also has to do not just with the things that are living that are groaning, but it is the inhabitants of the earth that groan. And I thought about Howard Thurman and the Hounds of Hell that cause us to run away, but run to at the same time. And then you said something very, you quote Howard Thurman in your book. And then at the end of it, you say, and it is precisely because they dare to use speech that they reveal the process of equality, because only a free human can speak. That is, claim their own inherent dignity and worth as a human being, but you don't get to that place until you've been through groaning.
My Lord, it starts out with a groan and with a moan, like Jesse said, and sometimes is sheer silence. But underneath that is the power for those who like theologizing. There's the logos. There's a word that is formed in the groaning. The groaning gives birth to the word that the people need. And if you're not groaning, I'm not going to say go and find a way to groan, but I would say to you, you better check yourself. Because if you can live in what we're living in and not feel the deep agony and pathos of people who suffer, who are disregarded, and Gina, I'm suggesting, who are treated as animals. The Greeks called it barbarism. That's where we get barbarism. They said that the heathen, the uncivilized, they don't speak. It's barbarism. And that's what I'm alluding to. We talk, but nobody listens to us when we talk. And so only a free person is able to speak even when he or she or they are not heard.
Dr. Williams?
I refuse not to be heard. I will be heard. I will be seen, and I will be known. And you will know that I belong here because I'm more than what you see.
Dr. Williams?
I love it. I actually am taking notes, Dr. Fluker. I just want you to know I'm sitting here listening and learning today. The thing that you said that hit me the heaviest is that nothing in this life comes to be without some groaning, some sense of groaning. And I think about, obviously, the first example of us entering the world through childbirth, right? And the pain of childbirth. But I even think about in the political space, how really all of the major movements, the major public policy shifts really occur as a result of tragedy, hard times oftentimes. You look at the Great Depression and the New Deal programs that came out of that. And you look at Obama's healthcare plan and a variety of major public policy initiatives that occurred that just would not have happened if there was not pain to go with it. And so, I wish we could get beyond that, but that is sort of kind of how this thing works at some level. And so as I listen to you talk, I think about how do we find purpose in pain, right? How do we bear fruit in the midst of challenges? How do we look at this moment that we're in right now, where we see the division of the country, we see the expanding inequality, we see this fascist regime that we are dealing with, and how do we recognize that will produce some great purpose afterwards, that if we use it correctly, that in this pain, we will find something that we can have that will bear fruit. And so for me, I'm looking at the future, listening to what you're talking about, saying, how do we take this moment and move us forward so we're at this place never again?
Ted, throughout the book, I check myself constantly. And I tell my reader, I'm not advocating suffering. But if you live here on the planet with the rest of us, not everybody lives here. But for those of us who are here and who are aware that we're here, we suffer. And the suffering is not just pain. Suffering is being conscious of one's pain. And to be able to understand that suffering can, it's not automatic. It's nowhere written that it has to produce hope, but it can if we choose. And this is an incredible idea that I think we miss often. It's something we choose. And our forebears chose to live through this. And they said, and before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my. Can you even wrap your head around that? And that's our freedom.
Dr. Let me ask this, please, because I know we're losing you in just 2 minutes, but that means there's the possibility of a collective groan, the recognition that we can all be groaning together at the same time, and we don't necessarily know that we're groaning?
Jesse, you read the Bible. I know you read the Bible. That's what the Hebrews were experiencing in Egypt. That story can be read in different ways, by the way, but the Hebrews in the story, in the biblical text, it's a collective groan. Our ancestors groan. And I think we're still groaning, but we've lost consciousness of the significance and the possibility latent in our groaning. God help us in this moment. God, please help us to understand what groaning means. Amen.
Wow.
We're coming forward.
Yeah, we are coming forward. And I do to lose you because we really need to continue this conversation. I was telling Jesse during the break that this conversation and the conversation we had in the last hour really need to be in a lot of classrooms and in a lot of different spaces and places so that we can gain our own consciousness and know that we own our minds.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, our very special guest has been none other than the eminent Howard Thurman Scholar. He is the author of a new book. His new book, we will have it posted in just a few minutes on our Facebook page and on our social media. Wake Up Running, Building Democratic Space at the Crossings. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with our very special guest, Ted Williams.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Several Chicago public schools parents are pushing back on the district's planned May Day civic activities.
Heaven forbid one child gets lost, that one thing happens to them.
Black CPS CEO Macklin King says no student will be required to take part, while some parents also object to teachers being paid during school hours for what they see as political activity. A former University of Michigan staffer says she became pregnant during her affair with former football coach Sharon Moore, who was Black, but ended the pregnancy because of health concerns. Paige Shivers shared the claim in a recent Good Morning America interview, saying the relationship began in 2022 and was widely known in Wolverines athletics. And a South Carolina man convicted of burning a cross to intimidate his Black neighbors is now facing federal charges. Prosecutors say Warden Evander Butler burned the cross in his Horry County backyard in 2023 and made threatening posts online. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A classic move by Rams management during day one Thursday night of the NFL draft. Head coach Sean McVay called Matthew Stafford to let him know they were going to select Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson with their first-round pick. After drafting Simpson, McVay told reporters that the Rams are still Stafford's team. Simpson appears to be the Rams quarterback of the future whenever the 38-year-old Stafford decides to retire. The Lakers are in Houston tonight for Game 3. The Lakers have a 2-0 lead in the best-of-7 first-round series. Tonight at 6, it's your Friday night sports fix. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for Out of Bounds. 60 minutes of sports chatter with some Black folks flavor. You can hang out with us on the KBLA YouTube channel or hit us up at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
When temperatures climb, LADWP wants to help you stay cool indoors, starting in your attic. With quality attic insulation, your home can stay more comfortable during hot summer days and help lower your energy bills year-round. It's a smart way to save. And for a limited time, LADWP has increased the attic insulation rebates to make upgrading more affordable. Act now to start saving. Visit LADWP.com/attic. That's LADWP.com/attic. Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Fig Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot stomping, heart stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, our regular co-host on Fat Meat Fridays, and our very special guest in this hour is none other than Dr. Ted Williams, an educator, actor, author, teaches political science at City Colleges of Chicago. Ted, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, my brother. It is so good to be with you this afternoon.
Ted, I've been telling Negroes for a long time, man, you need to stop groaning. Man, you know, I mean, stop complaining about what you don't have. Use what you got. Dr. Fluker, a few minutes ago, said it's okay to groan. He went one step further. He said that the collective groan matters in our space, especially if everybody's groaning at the same time on the same subject matter. And I remember before my father passed, and we were at the Democratic Convention, and they were honoring him at the Rainbow Push Coalition with a number of Democratic operatives and elected officials who were present. I said that we need to move the Rainbow Coalition to the Painbow Coalition, because in this era of Donald Trump, we're going to have to recognize each other's suffering. I think it's another way of saying we need to recognize the collective groan that we're all experiencing. Dr. Williams?
Yeah, so I am going to come from an artistic place on this question because I think it's so critical. No one outside, I would argue, outside of the indigenous has had to groan more in this country than us. And yet from that groaning and that collective pain has come the world's most dominant cultural output. We, as people of African descent in the United States of America, lead the world in music, film. The culture that has been born of this pain is spread all over the world as a result. And so what I realize in a theological sense, as we talked about, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed. But when it dies, it produces many seeds. There is this power in our suffering, this power in our collective struggle. And for that, we have created the most beautiful art in the world. We have created art that is the envy of the world. And I look at that and I say, if we can just harness that idea, that accomplishment that we have made in this country, we can stop wallowing in our suffering, wallowing in our pain, and start really using it to build greater communities and really teach the world how to deal with this, with suffering.
Mm-hmm. Gina?
Well, I love that, Ted, because I think that artistic beauty, artistic structure is based in the melancholy and in the sanguine. And so it does draw from a particular groaning. It draws from pain very often. And then it soars to greater heights to take people to an emotional high in that hope. And I think it is one of the best ways to really tell a story for other people to be able to empathize and sympathize with something that they have not been involved in, something that they cannot necessarily relate to, but you pull at those heartstrings enough and perhaps they become interested, and you're able to tell a story that may change the trajectory of what we're doing. It happens sometimes in hearings, but most often it happens on stage and in our music.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that my creative space comes from the melancholy. I mean, when I'm in the melancholy, I work my way out of the space by writing, or it may be reflective on social media, but more often than not, sometimes it's on Facebook. But I have to write down my most creative thoughts, and they usually generate in the groan the more I reflect upon it. Now that the groan is okay, thank you, Dr. Fluker, but it's in the melancholy.
Yeah.
It's not just a thought that occurs that doesn't have emotional content or concern for neighbor. It specifically addresses concern for neighbor. Dr. Williams?
Yeah, I was thinking, I think a lot about sort of the artists from our community who have really transformed. Obviously, we're talking about Michael today, but I think about Paul Robeson, Harry Belafonte. And I think about how, as a mentor, Harry Belafonte said to Paul Robeson that if you can get them to hear your song, you can get them to hear your story. And so I look at the condition of the nation right now. I was thinking a lot this week about all the unfortunate and tragic episodes of domestic violence and mass shootings and people killing their family members, and really something that in many ways culturally we thought was reserved for our non-melanated brothers and sisters in this country has really become a part of our identity. We have domestic violence. Our kids are shooting up schools. These things are beginning to happen. And I think, we look at this country and how we manufacture more weaponry, right, than any country in the world by far. If you look at who is producing weapons, about half of the weapons produced in the world that are spreading violence all over the world are coming from our country. And so we were created and born in the seeds of violence, right? It's in the soil. It is in the soil of this country. And these kids in the street who are thugging out, as people like to say and call them thugs, are just really the children of American violence. They are the children of America. I think at this time, how can we utilize art? How can we utilize the spoken and written word to really grab the hearts and the minds of people in the way that Malcolm X, his heart and mind was transformed when he was in prison, in the way that his words through the autobiography of Malcolm X really transformed a lot of us, self included, as I read as a young man. How can we grab people's hearts and minds? That, I believe, is the call of the hour. And for the time that we have on this earth, however long we have or short, I want to move the ball forward in that way. Can we save some? Can we transform some minds, some hearts? I really do believe we can.
Gina?
Okay. So I didn't know that I was going to say this, but I am. Because you brought up the consciousness of our music. And I remember very distinctly, this is the origin of rap. This is the origin of telling our story from the street.
I know where you're going, Gina.
Making it believable. And then at one point, those who control the system decided that that was too much conscious music, and it was done away with. I remember it was like it was yesterday. and enter a new frame of lyric with a great beat, which degrades women, does not do anything for learning and building a moral society, and building anything for that. And it's mindless. And so we see that, and the result of that in our streets and in our culture.
Gina, I think the genius of Sinners was that scene where that culture was in the juke joint, and it was transmuted through the various forms, including the gospel music, through R&B, but also through the blues. The way in which the story is told and transmitted is a factor in our collective groan. In fact, the dance that they were engaged in the juke joint was a collective groan, and it was a groan through time, with every single different art form essentially dancing to the same music, but it was the same rhythm, it was the same tenor, it was the same spirit energy. It was the same, and it is in that Holy Spirit, if you will, that we find our strength and our salvation. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our final segment with Dr. Ted Williams when we come forward on Fat Meat Fridays.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelenos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community
You better work. She's rooted in culture and rising in power. Los Angeles City Council member Karen D. Price Jr. invites you to the District 9 Women's Leadership Summit, a powerful gathering celebrating the women who shape our communities. Join us Sunday, May 3rd from 1 to 6 p.m. Registration is open now, but space is limited. District 9 residents receive special priority. This event is free. Call 323-846-2651 to reserve your spot. That's 323-846-2651. Be rooted, be powerful, be there.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-283-2427. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-283-2427, 800-283-2427, 800-283-2427.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Hey, Gina.
Hey, Jesse.
Dr. Ted Williams. That's Dr. Ted Williams with a PhD, not my. Hey, doctor. What's happening, doctor? What's happening, my friend? No, we're not discussing that. Dr. Ted Williams III is an educator, actor, author who teaches political science at the City Colleges of Chicago. He's a graduate of the University of Chicago, Rutgers University, and among his many acting credits include NBC's Chicago PD, Showtime's The Chi, various films, plays, commercials for companies including Empire Carpet, Cheerios, and Subway. Williams is the former host of WYCC PBS Television's The Professors, author of the book The Way Out, Christianity, Politics, and the Future of the African American Community, and creator of the musical theatrical production 1619, The Journey of a People. Dr. Williams, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you again. Always good to be here. We have some really enriching conversations on this show, and I just appreciate being with you.
I'm so grateful that you're here. Gina had some thoughts about Sinners and about that juke joint experience that we all experience in that Oscar-winning production. Gina?
Absolutely. It was phenomenal in the way that they portrayed our history in that moment, and the larger scope and the broader scope of what was going on
in Jim Crow. In Jim Crow.
Yeah, from Jim Crow to the spiritual underpinnings that were dealt with in that movie. The concept was simple: good versus evil, and the displaying of it. And it makes me think about something Dr. Alan Bozak said. He says, it is simple in its complexity. and it's complex in its simplicity. He said that responding to something that Jesse shared with him from his book, The Finger of God. But that stuck with me because it's so applicable across so many areas. And I also, want to harken back to what Dr. Fluker says in his book. He got an award and he said, I accepted the honor on behalf of my parents in this simple prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. If I should die before I wake is simple and elegant and profound at the same time. It's unpretentious. It's carved out of an existential threat of running from and running to a new crossing in our own democracy. So, when you talked about music and brought up the whole idea of the arts, one of the first things they got rid of in the schools was the arts. And the profound effect that that's had, as particularly on the Black community, is unfathomable.
Yeah. Well, what it does is the arts and humanities, they make us human. They allow us to deal with trauma. They allow us to deal with aspiration. And when you have particularly young people who have no healthy outlet for their trauma, who have no healthy guided outlet for the myriad feelings that we all went through from ages of 11 and 12 to 19, 20, those significantly important years. The arts are empowering. And I think that even as you saw in the educational space, the move towards STEM education, ultimately, educators realized, who were leading this movement, that they had to move from STEM to STEAM because the arts were significant in helping children to not only deal with their own individual lives, but to access a different part of their brain that actually ended up then having academic results. I used to do some research on a arts integrated education program here in Chicago, where we taught children concepts like physics through dance and history through music. And it was highly effective. And I think we have to continue to do that with our young people.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. It was a really, really cool experience. And I'm telling you, particularly now, we have been assaulted daily by this administration. Assaulted. Our sensibilities have been assaulted. We've been assaulted racially. We've been assaulted. Women have been assaulted.
Economically.
We have been assaulted economically. We have to be able to process that. Because ultimately, once the abuser leaves, they leave in their wake all of these damaged people. We got to figure out how to heal. And I think that the arts are a part of that.
Well, that leads us to our Wake Up Running by Dr. Walter Fluker.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. In this hour, we've been blessed to have Dr. Walter Fluker and his new book, Wake Up Running, Building Democratic Space at the Crossroads. It's Fat Meat Fridays. We've also been blessed by having Dr. Ted Williams, an actor, a thinker, a college professor, as our very special guest right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I guess I'm going to conclude and maybe even ask Dr. Williams to help me here. We can pick up on, because I believe we can do a tag team on this. Every one of us is running from something. Dr. Fluker posits a thesis that not only are we running from something, but we are running to something. He cites Benjamin Mays. He cites Howard Thurman. He cites Martin Luther King Jr. And he says, at the crossroads of where we are going is the opportunity to build and strengthen democratic spaces in that space. Dr. Williams, some final thoughts. We have 45 seconds.
I love his optimism. I love the idea that the glass is half full, not half empty. I do believe that democracy, at least in this experience, in this context, American context, I believe it will bend and possibly not break. And that we do have to find new ways to engage, new ways to connect. The old ways, the old institutions are not working. And I think in this 250-year anniversary of the nation. It is time for a rebirth of our values, a rebirth of what is important. We have to go through a process of spiritual atonement for the past. But I think that if we can do that during this time together, those of us who are leading in the spaces of academia and the media and that kind of thing, I think we can create a new world for our folks, our young people to live in. And that's the work that we're doing every day. And I appreciate what you're doing. And I'll stop there for the time. But thank you guys so much for the conversation.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. In the scroll, you can find how to reach Dr. Walter Fluker and his work. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Meat Fridays. More on KBLA Talk 1580. We'll see you guys on Monday in just a moment.
KBLA 1580 Santa